Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. For today's video, I'm going to be reading some of my subscribers' scary stories. These are my favorites, so if you're interested, grab your snacks, grab your kobika, and let's get straight into it. So before we begin, if you guys are hearing right now the rain, the thunder, that is not happening right now. Unfortunately, I can't hear that right now. I recorded that audio for you guys one night. It was raining and thundering, and I was like, I have to record this to put it in my background for the videos because I saw many comments saying that you guys liked the vibe, the cozy vibe from the rain and the thunder, and I was so happy you guys liked that because I do too. So that is that. I just had to let you guys know because you guys should have seen me recording over here the thunder and the rain, but I'll do it for you guys. But okay, let's just begin. Okay, so I lied real quick. I do want to say that this shirt, Como la Flor, Selena shirt, Selena vibes, we love that here. I got this shirt at Ross. I see the comments and I see many of you guys asking where I get my Selena shirts, and I get them at Ross, so go check out your nearest Ross. But okay, now for sure, let's begin. Okay, so starting off with story number 1. Hey Daisy, my name is Erika. I wanted to share this story with you. Since I was little, my mom would always take pictures of me, but in some of them, in the background, there would always be like a bulto negro or a face of someone. I was used to it, but this one time, it really freaked me out. This was last year, I believe around December. I was at my cousin's house and we had a sleepover. It was like 3 a.m. My cousin was watching Netflix and I was snapping my best friend on Snapchat. When I took a picture, I was about to type something and I saw something in the background. I started crying out of fear. I yelled, "Oh my God!" It just looked like the devil with horns. I stood up so fast and looked straight out the window, but there was nothing. I showed my cousin the picture, but I feel like she didn't want to think it was real, so she wouldn't feel scared. Well, she went back to watching Netflix, but I knew she was scared too. After that, I just covered myself in my blanket. I wanted to call my mom to tell her to pick me up, but I knew she was asleep already and I didn't want to bother her. So I didn't sleep the whole night. I waited until my mom picked me up. I looked so pale that my mom asked me, "¿Qué pasó? ¿Te sientes bien? What happened? Do you feel okay?" I just handed her my phone and I showed her the picture I took. She told me she thinks it was a duende or el diablo. That same day, she took me to someone who does, I wouldn't say witchcraft, it's more like helping someone or cleansing them. I think she took you to a curandera, but don't quote me. I was scared from what I had just witnessed. After that, I haven't seen anything, thank God. And I hope I don't ever see that again. Hope you enjoyed my story. Thank you so much, Erika, for sharing that story with us and sharing that picture with us. I don't know, that gave me the chills. Like, it really did. I didn't want to look at it for too long, let's just say that. But I wonder what the curandera told you. Like, did she or he say that it was something attached to you? And if it was attached to you, like, what was it? Like, you know, so hopefully you can write that in because I'm honestly a chismosa, so write it in. No, but if you want, again, if you want. But yeah, I hope it wasn't anything malicious, evil that was attached. If anything was attached, hopefully that wasn't the case. I would like to think that it was your guardian angel or something of that sort, you know, something positive vibes here. But again, Erika, thank you so much for sending in your story. So now for the second story. Hi Daisy, here is my paranormal encounter that I would like to share. My family immigrated from Mexico when I was about 2 years old. We stayed with my uncle for a couple of years. We ended up living in an apartment for several years, which at this point was late 1990s, about 1998. One night, I was watching Rugrats by myself in the living room of the apartment. My mom was in her room and my brother and sister were in their room. My dad was working his late night shift, so he was not home. As I was watching Rugrats, which ironically was a Halloween special, I noticed the curtain on my right hand side started moving out of nowhere. It started moving with what looked like hands moving and a head behind the curtain. It was so surreal because you could clearly see an indentation of a person, but when you looked at the bottom, there were no feet or legs. I instantly froze because I had never encountered that before. After a few seconds of what felt like 5 minutes, the ghostly swaying and the moving of the curtain stopped. and the curtain returned to its normal vertical position. I stayed looking at it intently to see if it happened again, but it didn't. I called my brother somewhat nervously, asking him if it was him playing around. I took a peek behind the curtain and nothing. All I saw was the pitch black darkness of the night. There was also no way my brother could have gone behind the curtain unnoticed. There was only 3 to 4 inches of space between the curtain and the big sliding glass door to the apartment patio. I was spooked. I went to my mom's bedroom and she was there reading. I went to my brother and sister's room to see if they were there. They were, and they were watching some other TV show. Even at an early age, it didn't make sense. If someone were to go to the living room, I would see them coming down the hallway and would notice them because the TV was on the side where you enter the hallway. I didn't tell my family. I knew they would not believe me and tell me that it was all in my head. As a child living in the apartment, I had dreams of death taking me and a witch killing me, with the setting being that same apartment. People may say that I was too young to have known what I saw, but I know what I saw. It's something that you never forget. It was not my family. It wasn't a person at all. Ooh, the way you described it. Oh my god. Saludos, Juan. Let me not forget that. Thank you so much, Juan. Honestly, this creeped me out a lot. It seems like whatever was there was definitely trying to catch your attention. And also, those dreams seem very specific, being that you were so young. So I wonder what's the history of the apartment or the previous tenants. Like, you know what I mean? Like, something seems off about those apartments, because if once you moved out of those apartments and those dreams stopped, then I don't think that's a coincidence. But thank you so much, Juan, for writing in. Your story gave me some nostalgic vibes. So now moving on to the next story. Hi Daisy, my name is Amanda and I wanted to share a spooky encounter that happened to me 5 years ago. I was dating this guy who lived in a town about an hour away from me, and he wanted to take me on a movie date one weekend, so I decided to drive to see him. I wasn't familiar with this town, so I had to use my map app on my phone to get there. I arrived with no issues and we headed to the movie theater to see The Conjuring 2. I love scary movies, so I was excited to see it, but halfway into it I started to get creeped out. I brushed off the creepy feeling and tried to get my mind off of the movie by just driving around with him and chatting, getting to know each other. It was our first date. Around midnight, I decided to head home. I had input my directions on my map again to get home and started following where it was taking me. The path it was leading me didn't look familiar, and I knew it wasn't the way that I got into town. So I was a little confused, but figured maybe it was a shortcut, so I kept going. Suddenly, it told me to turn into a cornfield, so I did. As I was driving, I realized I wasn't even driving down an actual road anymore. I was literally plowing through the corn stalks. My car was going crazy, violently shaking from side to side, as if there were people on each side shaking it back and forth. And then my phone told me I had reached my destination in the middle of a cornfield. I was getting really scared and of course started thinking about the movie I had just watched. I decided to turn around and go back where I started and put the directions in again, and this time it gave me the right directions. I was relieved to get back on the road that looked familiar, and it felt a little bit safer, even though it was pitch black and the road was empty. I noticed I was low on gas, so when I got to the next town, I stopped to put fuel. As I was standing beside my car, pumping gas, I looked at my car and there were handprints all along the side. And then it made sense why I felt like someone was shaking my car. I instantly got chills and hurried up and got back in my car. Needless to say, I had that creepy feeling the whole way back home and was just waiting for something to pop up in my rear view mirror or something. To this day, I still don't have the guts to watch that movie again. Has anything like that ever happened to you after watching something scary? I have more stories because it seems like something creepy happens to me every time I watch that stuff, but I'm addicted, lol. Oh my god, honestly, funny you say that. Funny you say this. It seems like something creepy happens to me every time I watch that. You know what? Same. Because it only happens when I am watching a Hollywood scary movie. Nothing from YouTube. Like when I watch YouTube paranormal videos, nothing happens like scary, creepy, out of the ordinary, but only when I watch Hollywood movies, if you're catching my drift, you know. But no, seriously, always. Like one time I said this in one of my paranormal story times a while back. It was like the first ones that I began doing, so I'll just briefly explain what I said in that video. But me and my family, we were watching The Conjuring in Mexico, and it was one of the jump scares that immediately in the bathroom we hear the bucket of water fall over, which is like a couple of feet away from us. So we were definitely freaked out, to say the least, and we turned that movie off because we said not today, Satan. And yeah, so I honestly think there is no coincidence when we watch something from like a Hollywood scary movie and something happens. Now it only happens, for me, it only happens when I see something from Hollywood, like a Hollywood movie, but it never happens when I watch like ghost hunting videos, paranormal story times. It never happens, only with Hollywood movies. I don't know if you guys are catching my drift. Hopefully you guys are. But Amanda, girl, kudos to you, because you handled this situation like a champ. Honestly, me being a gallina that I am, a little chicken that I am, I would have just fainted. But you pushed through something that I could never, honestly. And then you saw the handprints all along the side of your car. Like, that confirmed everything. So thank you so much, Amanda, for writing in, and definitely let me know about those other creepy encounters, because you know I'm a chismosa and I would love to know. Now on to the next story. This takes place when I was about 6 in my old house. I remember this so vividly. I was in my upstairs living room watching Zach and Cody around 10 p.m. My dog was leashed onto the balcony and was just laying there behind me. I remember hearing something move in the dining room. We had a huge container in the middle of the table that had a ton of food my family was going to donate. So heavy that both my brother and dad had to carry it. I dismissed the noise and turned back to the TV, but was interrupted by having the container fly to the ground. My dog started to growl and bark. We had the bay view windows in the dining room that had the handles you had to spin for them to open. Those began to open and shut. We also had a chandelier above the table that began to swing back and forth. The top of the container was being thrown back and forth as if someone was trying to break it. My brother, who was with me, began to drag me to my mom's room. She was woken up by this point and was pushing us into her room, and she yelled at us to start praying. My mom stopped in the middle of the hallway out of nowhere. My dog was whimpering, but he eventually let out a bark, and my mom fell to the ground and crawled with our dog into the room and shut the door. We were all crying as she called my dad to come home. He was at work working the night shift. She now tells us that she felt as if something grabbed her heart and all the air had left her lungs. It was my dog's bark that let her out of the trance. By the time my father made it home, everything had stopped and the house was a mess. The biggest thing I remember was the face I saw in one of the windows. I saw what looked like a pale face that was decaying. My mom gets her house blessed once a year, yet things still happen. I can tell you about those experiences if you'd like. Gracias, con buena energía y amor, Emily. Oh, thank you so much, Emily. Likewise, igualmente. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. And please do, I would love to hear those encounters. So send them in. I honestly wonder if this was your first encounter in that house. Like, was this the first thing that happened to you guys? Because that would be intense to have, like, out of nowhere. Like, I need to know the details. But Emily, I'm hoping everything is well in your home, everything has calmed down. But definitely send those stories in, because I am very curious to hear about those. So now moving on to the next story. Hi Daisy, my name is Rosalinda. I want to share with you one of my stories. Here is a little bit of a backstory. My boyfriend has lived in this apartment complex for a few years and in 3 different units. In all the units he lived in, he had some type of paranormal experience. Well, fast forward, he and I lived with my dog, Jackie Boy. I came home one night around 10:30, 11 p.m. after a long day at work. I went to open my front door and rushed to close it, leaving me in complete darkness. I closed the door so my dog would not run out as he gets happy to go out for a potty break. In the darkness of my living room, I felt my dog jump on me to greet me. I ran my hand down his head and side patted him. I asked my dog, "Jackie boy, did you miss me? Calm down boy, let me turn on the lights." Just for reference, my light was at the far end of my living room. As I was walking to turn on the light, he kept jumping up and licking my arm and scratching me. He stopped and ran up my stairs to my bedroom before I could turn on the light. So I brushed it off because normally he would be running up and down the stairs ready to go for a walk. I then walked to the stairs. I stood at the bottom of my stairs calling him for a few minutes. The second floor was quiet. I went up the stairs to the bedroom. I stood at the top and looked around for him, but nothing. I couldn't seem to find him anywhere in my room. I searched my apartment and found nothing. I then got worried that he might have gotten out or something. I got scared because I know I felt him jumping up and licking me, so there is no way he got out. I got my phone and I called my boyfriend and I told him I can't find my dog. He replied, "What do you mean? I have Jackie boy with me. We are at my sister's house." I explained to him I just got home and he was here with me. He told me I must be tired and that I just imagined it. I then asked him to please come home. We got off the phone, I grabbed my purse and keys and I ran to my car to wait for them to get home. 45 minutes later, he got home with my dog and I could not believe it. I know what I experienced. I showed him the scratch marks on my arms. He asked me to stay in his truck with my dog. He searched the apartment and found nothing. To this day, I can't find an explanation for this such strange occurrence. Let me know your thoughts of what it could have been. As always, sending love and light your way. Sending love and light your way too. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Like, wait, what? Like, I'm tripped out. So I could only imagine what you were feeling. I have no clue what this could be or even mean. The only thing that comes into my mind is if you had a dog pass away previously before Jackie boy and they came to visit you, but if that's not the case, then I have no explanation for you, Rosalinda. I'm sorry babe, but I have no clue. So let us know, you guys, down below. Help us out because we both clueless here. But thank you so much, Rosalinda. That was such a trippy story and I'm super curious what you guys are going to think about this story because I'm tripped out and I need explanations. Now on to the next story. Hey Daisy, my name is Edith. I have a few experiences from when I was young that I'm honestly not sure if they were paranormal since we were never able to really prove it, but they definitely creeped me out when they happened. All these experiences happened in the same house. The first incident happened around the time when my cousin, his wife, and my family moved in together in a house when I was around 12 years old. I remember my cousin would always make comments about how the house was haunted and how he would hear things, but I always assumed he was just trying to scare me. One day, my cousin's wife and I were home alone in the kitchen. I was helping her cook some food when I remember her asking me to grab a plate from the cabinets. When I opened the cabinet door, absolutely everything that was in the cabinet flew out. Like, they literally flew out of the cabinet and landed across the kitchen. Even the plates and cups that were in the very back flew out. The majority of our plates and cups were made out of glass and ceramic, so there was glass all over the kitchen floor. My cousin's wife and I were both barefoot, so she told me not to move or I would step onto the glass. But she had to go and get the broom to begin cleaning it up, so her feet were all cut up from the glass. We were both so shocked that we didn't speak until everything was cleaned up. After that, we talked about it and she said there was no way everything could have fallen out like it did. And if it was a spirit, it definitely wanted to hurt us because we were both barefoot and everything in the cabinet was glass. The second thing I experienced wasn't just on one occasion, but a few months after the first incident, that I would hear whispers from under my bed. I would randomly wake up in the middle of the night and soon would begin to hear whispers. It was loud enough that I could hear them, but not loud enough to tell what they were saying. But it definitely sounded like 2 to 3 grown men. I remember I would always start screaming and crying to my mom because I thought the voices were actual men who broke into our house and were hiding under my bed. When my mom would run in and check, there would never be anything there. This happened every day for about a week and a half. The last story I have was around the time we were getting ready to move out of the house. My mom always woke up and got ready for work in the morning while my twin sister and I were still asleep. Every morning right before leaving, she would come into our room and sit on my bed to put her shoes on. Weird, I know. She would say that she likes my bed since I had the bottom bunk of our bunk beds, and it made it easier to put on her shoes since my bed was low to the ground and her bed was really high up. But now thinking about it now, I low-key think it was just a way for her to see us right before heading to work. But the important thing to remember is that because it was every morning that she did this, my body got used to waking up at an early time. Every single time I felt the bed dip beside me, I knew it was my mom. One morning, however, I was sleeping on my stomach with my head facing the wall when I was awoken by the feeling of my bed dipping, like someone had sat on it. I thought it was odd though, that I didn't hear anything like the noise of her putting on her shoes or her telling me to behave at school like she did every morning. But I knew it happened because I literally felt my body dip to the side. Then I felt a small pressure on the back of my head. It felt like a hand rubbing my head. Something immediately felt wrong, and for some reason I knew that what was touching me was not my mom. I snapped my head up and turned around to see that no one was there. I got up and walked into my mom's room to see that she was asleep in bed. I woke her up and asked her if she had come into my room. She explained that it was her day off and that she was asleep this whole time. So if it wasn't her in my room, what was? Thanks so much for giving me a chance to tell my stories. Let me know what you think. Now that last story was creepy, even though it probably didn't have a malicious intent, but still, you just never know. And just the way the bed dipped and your body went with it, and then just everything about it was creepy. So honestly, hopefully I never experienced that. My sister has experienced that, and that terrified her, that traumatized her. So hopefully, knock on wood, not me. But girl, thank you so much, Edith, for writing in. Send in your stories. I would love to know about them, so definitely send them in. Don't be shy. Again, don't be shy. Your girl's a chismosa. I love hearing these stories. So now for the last story. Hey Daisy, so today I will be telling you a couple of stories that I have experienced when I was younger. I'm going to try my best to describe them all. First story. This was when I was about, I believe, 7 years old. We lived in an apartment. It had 2 bedrooms with 1 bathroom, which connected to my parents' room. So me, my little sister, and my 2 younger brothers were sharing 1 room and my parents in the other. This day, my mom was working and my dad stayed home with us, and by this time it was already night. We were playing in our room, jumping off the bunk bed to a big teddy bear on the floor, until my dad came in and said, "Hey mijo, help me look for a flashlight," since the light had gone off in my parents' room. So me and my other brother and sister stayed playing while my dad and my other brother went to look for the flashlight so he could switch out the bulb. Until my brother said he felt someone grab his ankle in my parents' room from underneath the bed. So at first he thought it was one of us, thinking we came in through the bathroom door to scare him. He said, "Knock it off," and it did stop. Then, again, he said he felt it, but this time it got even harder, that he wasn't able to get away. Until he came running to the room and said, "Why would you guys do that? You were hurting me." And me and my brother were like, "What did we do? We were here, just playing around." And my dad, coming from the kitchen, asked, "What happened?" Then my brother told us and showed us his ankle, and we all stood there in shock because you were able to see a bright red hand mark wrapped around his ankle. So now for the second story. Around this time, I was 10 or 11. We had moved to another apartment just a street down from the previous story. This apartment had 3 rooms and 2 bathrooms. Both of my brothers shared 1 room and me and my sister in the other. My room was facing my brother's room and my parents were on my left side, so I was able to get a good view inside my brother's room and the hallway bathroom. Back then, I would always sleep with the door open until these incidents. It was nighttime and everyone was already sleeping. I woke up because I felt someone staring at me and my little sister. I noticed two black human figures standing on my door, one on each side. I didn't think much of it, thinking it was my parents just checking up on us. So I never got a weird, scary feeling seeing this. Whenever I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would always see those figures and I would think it was just my parents. Until one morning I told my mom, ¿Por qué usted y mi papá siempre están parados en la puerta viéndonos en la noche? Why are you and my dad always standing at the door looking at us at night? My mom looked at me like I was crazy and said, I went, but it was only me. I just peeked my head in one time before going to sleep. And I told her, no, you're always standing there with my dad. She looked at me like I was crazy and just ignored me. At this point, I thought it was all in my head. Until one night, it was a different vibe. My sister also woke up. She saw those figures and we were both scared and covered ourselves with a blanket and screamed for our parents. They came in and we told them what we just witnessed. My sister was also telling my mom, and that's when she started to believe what I was telling her about those figures that would always stand there. But after that, I would always sleep with the door closed and never saw it again. Third story. This was in the same apartment with the two shadow figures. Little sidetrack story. One night I wasn't feeling too good, so I went to sleep pretty early. Everyone else was in the living room and my mom in her room. I managed to fall asleep until I opened my eyes and I saw this little boy really close to my face. He looked pale with a short bowl cut and he looked super evil. I closed my eyes thinking it was just my mind playing games, so I opened them again and there he was until I screamed for my mom and she came in and the little boy disappeared. But onto the main story. I remember either me or my siblings would always tell my mom we would see a little boy running from the hallway to my mom's room. My mom would never believe us because she would always tell us that we were just making stuff up just to scare her. So at this point, every time we would see the little boy, we would get scared and nobody wanted to go into my mom's bathroom just by the thought that the little boy is always going to her room. Until one day, my dad's friend, may he rest in peace, had moved in with us with his wife and little boy because they were in the process of getting a new place. The friend's wife would stay at home with her 3-year-old son while she also babysat my baby brother. She said they were both sleeping in my room and she was mopping in the living room until she noticed a little boy just standing in the hallway. And at that moment, she thought it was either her son or my baby brother. She told him, "You're awake, son?" and that the little boy ran straight to my mom's room. She said she went after him, and while she was walking down the hallway, she looked into my room and saw both kids sleeping. And when she looked to the right, she saw this little boy with a bowl haircut on my mom's bed just sitting down looking at her. These are some of many scary encounters my family and I have had. I hope you enjoyed them and gave you a little scare. Much love, Casey. Yes, they did, especially that last story. That last story was creepy. And now to think about it, hearing your stories, I feel like the first story where your brother was grabbed by the ankle, maybe there's a correlation with the little boy. But then again, you did say that you had moved to a different apartment, so they're not the same apartments, but you never know if there is a correlation. That is creepy. But please do write them in, Casey. We would love to hear them. It sounds like you have a lot of stories, so I can't wait to hear those. So that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone that writes in. It really does mean a lot, the fact that you guys take your time. I sound like a broken record, I know, but the fact that you guys take your time to write to me, it means the world. Like, that's time. Like, you guys are taking your time. That's insane to me. But thank you guys so much. Even you, the person that is just watching my videos silently, you guys don't comment, but you watch my videos. I see you, I acknowledge you, so know that. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.